bridge communication in the medical field with my connection to people and deep desire to have people connect, not only myself with somebody, but I love to see others connect. And now I work at a medical school. I've been there actually for about 16 years, and I primarily focus in developing communication skills and professionalism skills for our 3rd and 4th year students. Along the way, I've worked with physician residents at hospitals. I've worked with physicians on malpractice prevention. And the nuts and bolts of what I do is actually, I don't want to undermine it. It's really simple. It's helping people realize what is stopping them, what is preventing them from excellent moments of connection. And as was mentioned in Leah's and your podcast a few weeks ago, people enter this field because they have a heart to relieve suffering. They have a heart to help. They have a heart to be part of someone's health journey. And I like to help them connect to that and to find strategies to overcome some of the environmental and structural obstacles, which there are many. So that was a little bit of how I got here.
So cool.
My parents are still wondering. My mother says to me, she goes, when people ask me what you do, I'm still getting it, but I've written out several times because it constantly evolves. So what do you do? How do I describe it? But that's essentially what I do. I use my background in the arts and communication to help clinical providers connect. And my path is a blending of the two.
So cool.
Thank you.
It is so cool. What is preventing them from excellent communication?
What is preventing them from excellent communication? Wow, where should I start? Most commonly, I find in the people who I work with is an awareness of what their inside thoughts look like on the outside.
Oh.
So for example, let's take this as an example, like delivering bad news. So working with somebody or delivering difficult news. Let's just say that bad news can be anything. It can be anything from communicating a chronic disease like type 1 diabetes to communicating that somebody has been recently diagnosed with cancer, right? So there's a huge variety. One of the things that sometimes happens is practitioners think about, well, what would comfort this person? What can I say to make them feel better? And they think, well, what would I want to hear to feel better? And a lot of scientists are comforted by data. They're comforted by facts. And so sometimes in those conversations, you'll hear this percentage of this, where you have a this % survival rate, or you have this, and they start using numbers, and they might forget that moment to just stop, look at the person and say, how do you feel about this? What information would you like to know? Is there anything that I can answer for you as this is swirling through your mind? One of my favorite things that I love to coach is to inspire the patient that there are thousands of people working every day on whatever they were just diagnosed with. So if it's, somebody who's just diagnosed with MS, being able to say, there are thousands of people working on MS every day. And in your life, they will be with you. You are going to, how do I say it? It's reminding them, this goes back to a little bit about Kirsten's saying, asking the practitioner to remind the patient that they are part of a larger community and that there is a team of people working for them, even if they never meet them, even if they never see them. So when I do that, this is specifically to some of my resident work that I'm speaking to. A lot of the doctors are just, it's like, oh my gosh, I would want to hear what the survival rate is. I would want to hear what the latest study was, but what do I know how do I find out quickly what this person wants to know? And you find out by asking them. So that, for example, would be a very simple obstacle. Another obstacle, Leah mentioned this before, with eye contact and typing in a computer. So many of these rooms are set up. The IT department didn't really connect with the communication skills team when they set up the computers. Some of the screens are facing the wall. Some of the screens are facing, it's just an ergonomic problem. And having the practitioner say, would you like to pull up your chair beside me? Or as a patient saying, do you mind if I sit next to you so I can see the record? So it's connecting in that way, finding an obstacle to, so that would be another obstacle such as environment. I mean, I've done this work so long now, if you give me any obstacle, I'll come up with some sort of a solution to it. There is no changing at the moment that it's a short amount of time. It is not an ideal time. I remember this room full of malpractice, this room full of physicians at a continuing medical education event that I was facilitating, and the doctors were so angry. They felt like they were being scolded. And these were doctors, this was about 10 years ago, and these are doctors who entered the field when it looked very different, when they anticipated the paper chart future, when they anticipated the more regular business hours, when they anticipated some of those other things without all this documenting and computers, and the internet was sort of a big thing. And they're like, we only get 7 minutes. How do you expect me to do this in 7 minutes? In the room, there's like 75 doctors, and they were angry. And it just felt like the moment to say, right now in this room, we're not going to solve that problem. What we're going to talk about is how to make those the best 7 minutes that they can be. So let's understand what we can solve, and let's not let the larger issue seep in to stop us from even trying, right? So that's really what I do. The way that you knock on a door makes a difference. The way that you say somebody's name makes a difference. Do you presume the pronunciation of their name? Do you say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name? Do you retreat when you see letters that don't form a name that you're familiar with seeing? Or do you say, how do you say your name? How would you like me to call you? So it's these micro moments have such an impact. I like to think when the person walks in and says, hi, so, or if the practitioner were to walk in, and actually I think about this with any conversation, not just healthcare, but if somebody says, can I call you? Do you mind if I call you Bob? Like, well, yeah, because I don't go by Bob. You're not saying my name right. And I'd prefer that you call me something else. And Adriana, you might get this because you've had a life of your name being pronounced wrong. And they just say, hi, Adriana. And you're like, okay, I just sit with the mispronunciation of my name, or do I correct them and make it an awkward first moment? So little things. How would you like me to pronounce your name? What do you prefer to be called? These little things show I'm curious to know how you come to me, not what I think you, or who I think you are, what I think your name is.